Good evening. Hi, welcome to YPV Live. My name's Tessie. We're just waiting for Billy to join us, and tonight we're going to be talking about comedy, poetry. We've got an amazing list of poems ready to read you, and hopefully you're going to be belly laughing and really enjoy it. Hi, Billy. Just add yourself to the live. Thank you very much. So just getting Billy. I hope everyone has had an amazing day. It's Monday. Sorry that we are a day late, but we are here now. Oh, hello. Hello there.
Hello. Yeah, look.
What is it?
My little. It's one of those monkey tips, yeah.
Oh, yes. Hello, monkey. Hello. Well, great to see you, Billy.
Lovely to see you. It's been a thing since you've returned.
No, I haven't. No, it's been last Thursday. Hi there. Thank you for joining, Sharon. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Sharon. I got angry today, Tessie. You know, I went to the shop earlier.
Yeah.
Really, really angry. There was, isn't the Tesco I went to is a massive student area, loads of student people living there. And there was one of them, he was wearing shorts, t-shirt, and he's wearing like flip-flops.
What, in this weather?
In this weather. He probably just thrown anything coming down. But when I looked at his foot, his both feet, he had no toes.
He had no toes?
No toes, and it really made me angry. I don't know why, I just came at this rage. I think I'm lactose intolerant.
Oh, I see. Wow. Oh, well, I pushed an old lady down in the bank today. Do you know why?
Why?
She asked me to check her balance. Hi, Mel. Hi, Shah from Disneyland. Nice to see you.
She in Disneyland?
Yeah,
oh, wow.
Paris. Yeah.
Well, is she just never in Britain?
No, I know. We need her today because I've just had one person in work today, so we need you, Shah. So come back.
Yeah. Cool, so excellent. So as you know, this week, because it's our 1 year anniversary, this week me and Tessie have been, well, basically we were featuring ourselves.
Yes, we are celebrating 1 year of your poetic voice by featuring each other, and it's so much fun to wake up in the morning and have a surprise of what poems been posted and what you've said about me. It's so exciting, isn't it? It's really cool to be on the other side.
It is, yeah. So no, and thank you for yesterday as well. That was really amazing. It's kind of like looking, because I've been kind of like, what poem is she going to pick? Is she going to pick this one or is she going to pick that one? And when you pick that, I completely forgot about the one you picked yesterday.
Yeah. I love that one.
Yeah, it's just trying to find. And I want to say hello to Mike and Mike. Thank you very much for joining.
Hi, Mike.
And it's Fernando as well. I think he's joined in.
Yeah, hi, Fernando.
Cool.
So today we have been for the last quite a few weeks, we've been collecting your poetry when you've used the hashtag YPV comedy. So we have some community poems to read, and we've also got some other ones, haven't we, Billy? Some poems we found from famous published poets to share with you, and we've written a few as well, haven't we?
We have, yeah. Well, one I written a long time ago. Actually, you read it out when you did the poetry-thon.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I got one from there, and one which I've written recently. Actually posted. I posted a poem, Tessie. But we've got some brilliant, brilliant poems to read today. So yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to tonight. And I apologise for yesterday. I did have an upset stomach. I do apologise for last minute cancellation. So hopefully I'll make up for it.
Okay, so did you want to kick off with your first poem?
Okay, yeah. Well, my first poem is by me. It's called The Audition. As I said, I wrote this probably about a year ago now. And it's regarding the the TV audition shows, like, I guess Britain's Got Talent or America's Got Talent, that kind of thing. So it's regarding someone who's actually waiting to come on stage. I'm waiting in the wings of this televised affair, a show that's watched by millions, plus a live audience is there, with 2 acts before me, whilst one on stage tells a joke. He gets buzzed off so quickly, I really feel for this bloke. And he walks off in tears, which doesn't help my weight. My stomach is in knots, my heart begins to race, my breathing is heavy. I'm now rather hot, my extremities are shaking, my knees start to knock. Is this stage fright the cause? It can't be, I think. I've settled my nerves with a few carefully placed strings. I poured beer in my cornflakes, had a couple of gins. Of course, it's all medicinal, needed for this day to begin. An hour before I leave, I drank a whiskey, or 3, and poured some peach schnapps into a boiling fruit tea. I staggered out the door to the taxi at my gate. To the show, I do slur. Stardom, my awaits. In the queue to sign in, I reached round my back for the emergency miniature bottle of Jack. So now with 1 act before me and I'm second in line, I'm handed a lemonade, which I top up with wine. The juggler on stage has failed in her turn, and I start to feel sick, but it's more likely heartburn. Now I'm on next, and I'm amazingly calm, though I've almost passed out and have really sweaty palms. I hear a chorus of boos. Eek! I beg for a beer, or maybe a vodka, some gin. My entrance is near. The stage is now empty. My call takes an age. Or I was not listening as I'm pushed onto stage, so I run through my set, and I win the crown over. I'm in the grand final, never would be the sober.
Very good. Yes, I remember reading that one because it was an hour that I was doing in the Purchase on, and it was the art, so it was all anything to do with like film and TV, and you wrote that one, and I remember really enjoying reading it. Well done, Billy. Really funny. Okay, so hi Raquel and hi Becky. Thank you for joining. All right, well, I'm going to read one of Flipstalk's. So if you're not familiar with Flipstalk, his name is William Steen, and he writes funny poems all the time. And he submitted one for YPV Comedy, and I'm going to read it to you. A fox to guard the hen house, the chickens loud protest. You cannot leave that ginger louse to monitor the nest. His politics are suspect, his motives low and sly. The outcome, as you might expect, would make a grown man cry. The eggs all vanished in one swoop, no telling where they are, and all the chickens in the coop have turned to foul tartar.
I like that one. Yeah, it feels brilliant. I really do like that.
Yeah, he's always got something kind of fresh and funny to bring to the table. So make sure you go and give him a follow if you're not already.
Excellent. Well, my next one is someone who hasn't written for a little bit, but whenever she does write is absolutely hilarious. She's a British expat now living in Spain. It's a lady called Amanda Carrington. She deals with the more innuendo kind of things usually. She's not only a poet as well, she does like an online women's magazine which deals with all kinds of issues that women talk about, usually about sex as well. There has been a couple of videos which she has not tested out but shown us different sex toys and stuff like that, especially in the swimming pool so you can see the ripples when they move. But she's absolutely hilarious, and I'm reading one of hers. My body is a temple, although something of a wreck. I try to keep it healthy, but it's hard to keep in check. When there's chocolate in the cupboard and candy in the jar, not to mention all the booze that's stacked up in the bar. My body is a bar and grill. Maybe that's what I should say. A leaving, breathing smorgasbord, a buffet on display. So when I said a temple, I really meant a shrine to everything I love, but just mostly food and wine.
She's really good, isn't she? Yeah, I haven't seen. She changed her handle as well, and I couldn't find her the other day.
It's Amanda Carrington _AC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
she's done kind of like almost little spoken word bits, very small, almost micro poetry spoken words. But they're extremely funny, generally to do with wine.
Yeah. Raquel, if you want to DM it to YPV, I can have a look at it and add it to the reading list. Okay, so let's see what I have now. So, does anyone like crafting or scrapbooking, paper craft, anything like that? Because if you do, you may relate to this poem. Now, I'm not sure who wrote it. It's been posted on Instagram by Teapot Street Crafts, but I don't know whether they wrote it or if it's something that has been found online. But it's called The Crafter's Blessing. May you never run out of storage space. May your scissors never be dull. May your trimmer blades be ever sharp and your ink pads always full. May your cardstock have two sides and may the corners never be bent. And may your husband never know exactly how much you spent. I can relate to that because I've got boxes and boxes and boxes of crafting stuff, and I really need to get kind of into it again because I haven't done some for a while, apart from on Valentine's Day when I attempted to make my boyfriend a Valentine's Day card. But yeah, it's very relatable. You can spend so much money on Hobbycraft and places like that.
I've got a box of craft stuff when we had to make the pirate ships.
Oh, you still have that?
I still have so much paper and lollipop sticks and glue.
Oh.
I don't have the ship anymore. The ship's in the bin. It was terrible. I crash ship, a wreck stuck at the bottom of the sea. I realised I wasn't that good at crafting. So my next one is away from the community. It's by a poet, you may have heard of him, called Roald Dahl. Or I used to think it was wrong. But Roald Dahl. There's only a short little one. And it's, hey diddle diddle, we're all on the fiddle and never get up until noon. We can only take cash which we carefully stash and we work by the light of the moon. That's a nice little one of someone who's probably not working legally. And especially with work by the light of the moon. So sun works in the evening but don't need any light at night time. Hopefully not to be seen by people. Yes.
So with Roald Dahl, normally I think more of him as an author, but of course he's written many lovely fun poems as well. That's really good. Thank you for sharing that one. Absolute legend indeed, Sharon. Okay, so I have some that are not from the community as well. Let me see which one I shall share. I have, let's see. Have you heard of somebody called Ken Nesbitt?
The name sounds familiar.
Okay, so I found quite a few poems that Ken Nesbitt has written, and they're all kind of a funny nature. So I'll read you one. My mother said to do my chores, to dust the shelves and mop the floors, and wipe the walls and wind the clocks, and scoop the kitty's litter box, and walk the dog and feed the fishes, and wash and dry the dirty dishes, and clean my room and take a bath, and read a book and do my math, and pick up all my Lego blocks and put away my shoes and socks, and hang my shirts and fold my pants, and water all the potted plants, and organise my toys and games, and straighten up the picture frames, and polish all the silverware, and brush my teeth and comb my hair, and rake the leaves and mow the lawn, and on and on and on and on. She said I'll get to have some fun as soon as all my chores are done. With all the chores I have to do until my mother says I'm through, like a study for an hour or two, and peel potatoes and stir the stew, and fix the vase with crazy glue, and practice tuba till I'm blue, and wash the dog with pet shampoo, and sweep the chimney and the flue, and scrub the tub and toilet too, and pick up piles of puppy poo. It looks like I'll be 93 before I get to watch TV.
I'm going to check him out.
Yeah, I've got another one to read as well a bit later. I really love reading and hearing the more lighter genre of poetry. It's really uplifting, and it's so much fun to read these. But over to you, Billy.
Well, that's how I've become a fan of Pam Ayres, because it is a lighter thing. It's lighter poetry, and sometimes self-deprecating as well. I wrote his name down now. But yeah. Oh, what did the fish say when it swam into a wall?
Oh, I don't know.
Damn.
Very good.
Okay. My next poet is someone who's online at the moment. I want to say hello to John, Andrew, and Jai. Thank you very much for joining. This poet is Becky Who Poetry. So I'm reading one of her poems today. And the poem I'm reading is Clever Love. So, can someone somehow loudly explain, please? Sorry, I'm going to start again. Can someone somehow kindly please explain how I can fall in love with someone's brain? Pure eye candy you certainly are not. It's not your looks that make me feel quite hot. Your mind is still learning with such ease, it makes me feel quite weak around the knees. Your words of wisdom bring such clarity, your open mind and set it free. But though an open mind will gladly take, an open heart is surely a mistake. I fear, my love, you never shall requite, through in our love of learning we unite. Though thoughts and wise ideas you freely share, you scorn tender talk without a care. But with no shame I build a verbal shrine to intellect that never can be mine. If my cerebral love for you begets no more than poor iambic quintuplets, I'll try to move beyond love for your head. Your feet smell and I bet you're crap in bed.
Oh, thank you, Becky, for writing these. I've got another one of Becky's that I'm going to read a little bit later on. You obviously got a talent for these funny poetry poems. Thank you so much for getting involved.
Oh yeah, you did so many poems, Becky. We could have had a whole hour on your poetry.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we had to choose. I do apologise, we can't read all of them, but thank you.
Okay, I have one that I found on Instagram, posted by healthy.nerd. I don't know if they wrote this. I think it was probably just found online. It's called Dieter's Prayer. Lord, as I weigh in today, I turn to you and humbly pray. Please help me not to go astray as I chase these pounds away. If you can, Lord, take a bite right out of my big appetite. Help me work that cellulite out of mind and out of sight. Let me eat just what I should, the things that do a body good. So next time I weigh in, I would be in the right neighbourhood. Please strengthen me as I begin this battle of the bulge to win. But let me realise, battle thin, that truest beauty lies within.
Aww.
Which is very true.
Yeah. Excellent. My next poet is Edward Lear. As you know, he's a poet, generally deals with nonsense, but he also was, I think he was the inventor of the limerick as well. A lot of his limericks itself did usually repeat, the last line was a repeat of the first line, or a slight variation of it. But I managed to find one which I quite liked, and it did seem to have, it wasn't repeating the first line again. So Edward Lear. There was an old man who felt pert when he wore a pale rose-coloured shirt. When they said, "Is it pleasant?" he cried, "No, not at present. It's a little too short, is my shirt."
Can you do that one again?
There was an old man who felt pert when he wore a pale rose-coloured shirt. When he said, "Is it pleasant?" he cried, "Not at the present. It's a little too short for my shirt. A little too short for my shirt." Yeah. Anyway, he's got little, L-W-E-T-L-E, so I had to pronounce it little.
Little.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's, I was looking at his other work, and a lot of his longer poems were really quite long. So I've got to go for the limerick, as there was hundreds in the book I have of his.
Okay.
It was fun reading through the book as well.
My next one is from this book, and it's an anthology from 1997, and it's a poem that my sister wrote as a child, and it's not hilariously funny, but it's light-hearted. It's called the Bone Crunching Porcupine. My sister's called Gabriella Stedman Brown. Whenever you're on the 30 bus, beware of the bone-crunching porcupine. He lives under the seats where he giggles and neeps and is thoroughly dangerous. He might leap from mid-air and tear at your hair and pull it right out by the clawful. He then might miggle and morgue and squiggle. He can be thoroughly awful. His favourite treat is a mouthful of feet. He could crunch them all up by the plateful. He'll lick his lips and slibber and glips. He can be thoroughly hateful. The worst thing of all is his blood-curdling call. As he gnaws at your toes, he's so gleeful. And when he's done, he'll shiffle and blum. He can be thoroughly lethal. The lesson is thus: if you travel by bus, beware of the bone-crunching porcupine. He lives under the seats where he giggles and neeps and is thoroughly dangerous.
I like that one.
Yeah, I like that one. She wrote it as a child, and it's obviously a lot influenced by Jabberwocky. By who? Lewis Carroll, is it? Jabberwocky. Should know that, but I can't remember.
I can't remember.
Yeah, so it's very similar to that, but she's obviously been influenced by that. But it's a great poem.
Yeah, Bone Crunching Porcupine. Yeah, because didn't you read it out on another live before?
I've read it out on a few lives now, I think. Yeah, the Jabberwocky is a nonsense poem written by Lewis Carroll, and there's lots of made-up words in it. And I think my sister has made up, well, she's obviously made up some words in that poem.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to go back to someone you read out earlier. I'm going to do Flipstalk again.
Okay.
Good old Bill. And this one's called Viva Immaturity. And some time ago, I think it'd be close to about 11 months ago when we featured Bill. This was one of the ones which I picked to feature. Viva Immaturity.
Yeah.
I wear undies on my head while jumping on the old spring bed. For dignity I have not shred. Viva Immaturity. I tell old riddles no one knows, then laugh till milk snorts out my nose. I think I'll skip work 'cause it blows. Viva Immaturity. I'll be a barefoot pirate bold, refuse to do what I'm told. Lock all complainers in the hold. Viva Immaturity. Instead, with shoes upon my feet, I drag my briefcase down the street to deadlines due and stress replete. I hate maturity.
I remember that one very well. Well done, Flipstalk. Love it.
Yeah. No, I love Flipstalk.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to read one of mine, if that's all right. Now, this one is one that I haven't posted. So I left it really late to write a poem for YPV Comedy. And I started writing one last night, which I have posted now to my page. And I will read that one a little later. But today I so enjoyed thinking about writing something a bit silly that I wanted to have another go at one. And I've written one called A Selfie with a Camel. So I'm going to read this one for you now. I took a selfie with a camel. He didn't seem impressed. The grumpy, humpy mammal looked unquestionably distressed. We posed for that selfie to get the perfect pic, but he didn't look that healthy and he spat some camel spit. He snorted and he snuffled. He didn't smell that great. He seemed a little troubled. Then he started to gyrate. It was then I heard the beats, the Arab tunes they flowed. Then the camel got up on his feet and his yellow teeth he showed. He boogied with his belly. He stood on his hind feet. I forgot he was so smelly as we danced to that beat. So I was pleased as punch with my happy camel friend, and I kinda had a hunch that it would no longer offend. So I got my camera out, yelled the obligatory cheese. We both gave a selfie pout before all over me he sneezed. So I got my camel portrait, but it really was quite vile, with camel snot across my face, but at least I got a smile. So I don't know what you think of that one. I changed it a little bit, Billy, from when I last showed
Yeah.
you.
I'm glad you kept the word snot in.
Yeah, I'm quite pleased with it.
Yeah, I know, it's brilliant. Thank you very much.
So I'll be posting that one probably tomorrow at some point. Keep an eye out for it. Over to you, Billy.
Excellent. My next one is was basically I'd say your temporary replacement last week, Mel, Girl on the Edge 90, who came on, and before YPV, you actually did a comedy live with her.
Yes, yeah.
So this one is one previous one of her earlier ones. I don't know if this one's going to be in her book of open heart poetry, which is out now. Please go on to Lulu, well, go to her page, Girl on the Edge 90, it's on a link. So binge watching and Netflix go super hand in hand. How I ever coped before, I just can't understand. To wait a week between episodes seems so cruel and unkind. When left on a cliffhanger, we'd be out of mind. No need to wait nowadays for the next episode we press. The day has gone already, I didn't even dress. But once we reach the finale, a grieving period awaits. Attachments we have made, they become our TV mates.
It's true, isn't it? Like, you're so used to like being able to binge watch a whole series or something.
Yeah. Well, on iPlayer, when Luther was coming out, they had all the episodes of Luther already on iPlayer, so I didn't have to wait for a week.
Yeah.
If you're watching Baptiste, I have to wait.
Which one, sorry?
Baptiste.
Oh my God, I haven't told you, but when we did our desert safari, so I've just been to Dubai and we did a desert safari, and it involved going in a kind of real like a Land Rover car, like really like with a roll bar, like, and going dune bashing. Anyway, there were a couple from Serbia with us, and then behind us there was a couple from Paris. And I was thinking, I recognise that guy. I recognise him. And then when we took a break, I said to David, you know Baptiste? And he went, yeah, I know. And basically, the guy was like a spit of Baptiste. And I was absolutely convinced it was Julien Baptiste. And he was even limping. And I was convinced all night it was him. But yeah, David wouldn't let me ask him. But yeah.
I've had one where, do you know Grand Designs, that old program Grand Designs where people rebuilding houses? Near the SS Great Britain, there's a cafe. They changed it massively now, but there's a cafe, and me and my ex-girlfriend at the time, we was drinking tea in there, and they had all like the new build flats across the water, like all the ones where, I say new build, it's been there for probably about 10 years now. So we were just there having a cup of tea, and I was saying, oh, they look horrible, blah, 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 blah. Right behind me was Kevin McLeod.
Oh, God.
These buildings are horrible. He's sitting right beside me. She's kicking me under the table.
Oh, God.
You've got Kevin McLeod behind you. I went, what? Yeah. I was like, no.
Funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your turn. It's my turn or your turn?
I can't remember. Okay.
Your turn. I just read Mel.
Okay, cool. Right, I'm going to read Sharon. So it's S.H. Andrews poetry. Now, did anyone used to love watching those kind of daytime TV programs like Jeremy Kyle, Jerry Springer, that kind of thing? Did you ever watch those?
No.
No. Goodness.
No.
You missed out.
They make me cringe.
Yeah.
But I get angry.
Yeah. But that's probably better than being kind of relating to them. But to be honest, Sharon has written a really funny poem about daytime TV. It's called Daytime TV Dream. I have a day off work, time to watch Jeremy Kyle. I probably shouldn't admit this, but his programme makes me smile. I'll admit I'm a tad judgmental of the odds and sods of life, and those crazy fighting couples who embody the phrase trouble and strife. I think back to my first marriage, I would sometimes think, God damn, I'd be the next flipping candidate on Jez's reality TV programme. It is, honestly, it's just mad, the kind of I'm not being I don't want to be judgmental myself, but yeah, it can be quite shocking, but yeah, it's very entertaining, and I haven't watched it for a while because I have to go to work, but yeah. Maybe I will when I have my next day off.
No, don't. We'll find you something to do. So my next poem is away from Instagram. The bloke I'm reading now, he was said, the Beatles always say if it wasn't for Elvis, they wouldn't be in music. It's kind of like the Monty Python say, if it wasn't for this bloke, they wouldn't be in comedy. It's the amazing Spike Milligan.
Okay.
Okay, so he was kind of like, he was in one or two of the actual Monty Python films, but they absolutely adored him. It's kind of like he's their inspiration for their stuff. Spike Milligan, again, just nonsense verse, but he's absolutely great. And I'm reading In the Land of the Bumblebee Boo. In the land of the Bumblebee Boo, the people are red, white and blue. They never blow noses or even wear clothes. What a sensible thing to do. In the land of the Bumblebee Boo, you can buy lemon pie at the zoo. They give away foxes in little pink boxes and bottles of dandelion stew. In the land of the Bumblebee Boo, you'll never see a new, but thousands of cats wearing trousers and hats made of pumpkins and pelican glue. Oh, the Bumblebee Boo, there's a place for me and you. It's so hurry, let's run. The train leaves at 1 for the land of the Bumblebee Boo. The wonderful Bumblebee Boo, boo, boo. The wonderful Bumblebee Boo.
Yeah, cool. That's cool. I love these nonsense poems. They're so much fun.
But we had the conversation earlier. It's like absolutely magic, but it means absolutely nothing, but it just sounds like it means something.
Yeah.
I find it really hard to be able to do that, and I've tried a couple of nonsense poems, but mine still feels it's too structured and storied.
Yeah, give it a go. That's what I tried to do. Yeah, I tried to do it with the camel one. I'll have another go. Raquel, if you can send it to YPV, because I'm on YPV on the tablet, so that would be great. Okay, so we know somebody who's quite heavily influenced by Spike Milligan, and he is called Spiky Tim, and he lives in Bristol, which is where Billy and I live. So following on from Spike Milligan's poem, I'm going to read you just a short one by Spiky Tim. He's a performance poet, and we went to an open mic night with him, and he's quite famous in the Bristol area and beyond, and he does kind of events and things like that. And this one's really short, but I really liked it. So you know the song, Hey Mickey, you're so fine, you blow my mind, hey Mickey. Yeah, okay.
I love that song.
Yeah. Hey Mickey, you're so fine, you blow my mind, hey Mickey. Hey Mickey. What about this version? Porcupine, you're so fine. Porcupine, you blow my mind, hey Prickly. Hey Prickly. Porcupine, you're so fine. Porcupine, you blow my mind, hey Prickly. Hey Prickly. That's just one of Tim's smaller poems. It's Spiky_Tim. Go and check him out. It's amazing.
Yep. And my next one is actually Spiky_Tim.
Okay.
So that's serendipitous. It's basically, I decided to do Spiky Tim after I read Spike Milligan, because I feel Spiky Tim, he does the poetry so well. It's like Spike Milligan's handed him like the nonsense torch, and Spiky Tim's took it a step further as well. My one is one of his new ones. It's called Newt. I am a newt, I'm a beautiful newt, I am popular, pretty and posh. I am a newt, I'm a newt in a suit, and my pockets are bursting with dosh. I am a newt, I am totally cute, the legend arrives, I am here. I am a newt, a stunner, a beaut, so gather and give me a cheer. You cannot refute that I am wise and astute, but my boastfulness was a mistake. I am a newt, my pain is acute, because I got booted out of the lake. I am a newt, I'm a beautiful newt, I am loaded, minted and rich. I am a newt in a suit, in a dark and dingy ditch.
It's so funny. He's so good at performing. He just comes to life. He is such a performance poet. He's crazy. He's such an amazing person to watch. He's so entertaining.
And so sweet.
Yeah. He just lives down the road. I should have actually asked him to come over and perform one of his poems, but we weren't really that organised. But yeah, he's just down the road. So yeah, perhaps we'll get him on one time. Okay, so I'll do another of Spiky Tim's, another short one. Heidi Spider's in a spin. She lives in a wheelie bin. And Heidi Spider has no taste to live amongst our daily waste. But as new houses are not cheap, she's moving to the compost heap. Over to you, Billy.
Oh, Spiky Tim. No, honestly, follow Spiky Tim. He's loved by loads of people. I remember when I woke up one earlier, a couple of weeks ago, it was Angelica from Days Night Features was doing a live with Zillium.
Oh, yeah.
And they were, because Days Night featured Spiky Tim.
Oh, yeah.
On the week we featured him. And it's, yeah, they love him to bits as well. And they're amazed that, like, he lives on the same street as you.
Yeah.
Like that, yeah. Yeah, I met him. So that's really cool. So my next one is Pickle Poetry, or Jai Fulon. He was on earlier. I don't know if he's still on. So this is one I found on his page. As I was looking for poetry as well, I'd been on Jai's page. I've featured him on another page that I run before. So I went on his page. Some of his rhymes are quite serious, but I know he does. Oh no! Bye, Sharon. I know that he does children's books, so I thought I'll give it a go, see what else, and I found this one. The day I caught that leprechaun, I thought I struck it rich, but he could kick the little bugger, and he could moan and he could bitch. We could make a bloody racket, and we earned some funny looks. As far as I can tell you, all these leprechauns are sooks. But he knew that he was done for, and I got him in a hold, and he knew that he'd have to take me to his great big pot of gold. He was biting me and scratching, and he hurled some mean abuse. But my lucky day was here, and there's no way he's getting loose. I pressed him for an answer, but he didn't have a clue. He was fighting for his life. I guess that's what you do. Found out I was mistaken, and that what I've done was mean. To be sure, he's not a leprechaun, just a short bloke wearing green. Abducting focus frowned upon him in broad daylight, fairly risky, but I swear it wasn't my idea. I blame it on the whiskey.
Love it.
Yeah. So they can identify.
Okay. I've got Becky Who Poetry. This one's called International Bake Off, Britain 1, France 0. The French are really rather rude when talking about British food. They cannot help but be quite mean when it comes to tasting our cuisine. They mock our beef with roasted spuds and gravy-soaking Yorkshire puds, swear vinegar on fish and chips would never make it past their lips. They claim the British high cream tea can't match the French wheat patisserie. In the kitchen, we can't expect the French to show us much respect. So when I'm invited to a fete, I cook up something they won't forget. The culinary offensive I will take. My weapon is lemon drizzle cake. These French folks seem to love the stuff. They simply cannot get enough. They'll eat 4 pieces without stopping and rave about the crunchy topping. My lemon cake's known far and wide. It fills me up with British pride. Every party they'll ask me to translate the recipe. I'm waiting for the call one day from Paris and the Elysee, requesting my gâteau au citron for the tea time of President Macron. My great secret when I bake, Mary Berry's foolproof cakes. No one believes me when I say it's gâteau pour les nuls en français. If you ever want to make a start on cracking open a Gallic heart, Mary Berry holds the key with her simple recipe. The cake to conquer the French nation, or at least sort Anglo-French relations. Lemon drizzle has the power over the land of the Eiffel Tower. It's one of my favourites. That's absolutely brilliant. Well done, Becky.
Becky. Thank you very much. Okay, my next one I've got on my notes, read Pam Ayres. So I've got Pam Ayres' book out. And it's called On Comparing My Husband to Robbie Burns. Oh, oft I think of Robbie Burns striding through the heather, all manly clad in tartan play to spurn the Highland weather. Over Glock and Glen, that man of men, his black eyes all a-flashing, could any heart not leap and start, or fail to find him dashing? Oh, oft I think of Robbie Burns, his dirk thrust in his gaiters, but then I think of you, dear, and go home to peel potatoes.
That's brilliant. Oh,
It
she's
is.
so funny.
Oh, she's brilliant. It was on last Sunday, because me and Mel did pick a poem.
Oh, yeah.
We both had a Pam Ayres book.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
But I had to change it halfway through. She did have it on her, but I did start going about my tirade about micro-poetry.
Yeah.
And the book she had was Rupi Kaur's
Oh,
new
no.
book. Yeah.
Oh. Did she read some from it? Because I didn't catch it.
Oh, no. Because she wasn't going to use, because I wanted her to use open heart poetry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So she wasn't going to put it in. I said, no, use open heart poetry.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So luckily she swapped that.
Oh, cool.
So it's a lot of poetry.
Okay. Right, I'm going to go on to the Spike Milligan one that I've chosen. It's called Bazonka. Do you know this one, Billy?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Ready? Say bazonka every day. That's what my grandma used to say. It keeps at bay the Asian flu and both your elbows free from glue. So say bazonka every day. That's what my grandma used to say. Don't say it if your socks are dry or when the sun is in your eye. Never say it in the dark. The word you see emits a spark. Only say it in the day. That's what my grandma used to say. Young Tiny Tim took her advice. He said it once, he said it twice. He said it till the day he died, and even after that he tried to say bazonka every day, just like my grandma used to say. Now folks around declare it's true that every night at 2:30, if you'll stand upon your head and shout bazonka from your bed, you'll hear the word as clear as day, just like my grandma used to say.
Aww.
So funny.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, my next one is by Truculent But Amiable, or Alan Gregory, and this one's called The Illuminated Loo. I put a light inside my loo, a perfectly normal thing to do, for those of us who like to view blood red wee or purple poo. But safety is the reason too, when I braved the dark at 2:30 to do what it is that I have to do, I can't miss the seat or fall right through. The thing I like best when the light is blue and it streams through the gaps between my thews, make scary faces impromptu or shadows up above my pew. I could play all night till the day is new. Return to bed? No, nor would you.
Oh, thanks, Alan.
Thank you very much, Alan.
Okay, I've got the Witty Britty.
Yay.
So that's Kimballs. Okay. She's archived a lot of her stuff. I don't know whether you noticed, but there wasn't. Yeah, but I found one that was on Dazed Out Features, so I'm going to read this one. Okay, so this is the Witty Britty. My husband says I'm always cold, but I think he runs hot. When it comes to heating, we disagree a lot. I'm always under a blanket while he clutches a cold drink. When it comes to temperature, I wish we were more in sync. He often sits on the couch half-dressed, and I'm not sure he has a clue that if he just bloody turned up the thermostat, I might get naked too. Yay! And Kimballs follows her poems usually with a spoken word as well. Yeah, so well done.
Okay, the next one I have is another one of mine.
Great.
It's the one I just posted. It's called Taking the Piss. I'm waiting at the station for a bus I cannot miss. It's due here any minute, but I'm busting for a piss. So dash into the men's room, To fulfil my urgent need, barrier, it stops me. To go through costs 20p. 20p to go away, I said, dancing on the spot. I rummaged through my pockets for a coin to fit the slot. A mobile phone, chewing gum, and of course my front door keys. But money is elusive, and I really need to pee. I spied a dingy corner for public urination. Security would lift me and throw me out the station. My wallet holds a fiver and my bladder holds in wee. I buy a bag of sweeties. In my change, a 20p. The barrier awaits me and I go and pay my due. I pray a little prayer of sorts, allow me to go through. The barrier elates me, and I've forgotten my past grief. I rush into the toilet to experience relief. Wait now from my bladder, I go off to catch my bus. I'm glad it's now all over and I didn't cause a fuss. But my anger starts to rise and there's nothing I can do. The seat that I've been booked on is adjacent to the loo.
Very good, very good.
Yeah. But it's really weird because some of it's based on, I went to see Chris Rock in the O2 Arena in London about 10 years ago. And so by the time we finished, we had to get back to the bus station for about 1 o'clock in the morning to catch the very last coach. And we didn't book any seats, that kind of thing. But I wanted to go at the back because I wanted to sleep. And of course, it's longer at the back. My friend goes, I don't want to go there because the loo's there. No, I don't want to go there because the loo's there. I got no sense of smell. For me, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was sat at the back, he sat in the middle. Yeah.
I'm glad it inspired you.
Yeah.
All right. So Raquel's just sent me one through. It's called Something I Do Best. This is inked heart poetry. I spend my days doing nothing, which almost always leads to something. I'll only get somewhere by leaving where I've been. Though the things I do just to get somewhere are really nothing in the end. So maybe instead of doing all the somethings, just trying my best to get to somewhere, tomorrow I'll focus on doing nothing, because nothing is something I do the best. She says, happy Sunday. Oh, that's a good one, Raquel. Oh, thank you for it. Yeah, don't worry that you didn't use I can't speak that you didn't use the tag. Thanks for sending it to us. Well done, Billy.
Okay, my next one is John Cooper Clarke. It's called The Day My Pad Went Mad. Somebody came this way and fled from the heavy, wretched scene. All the rooms were grey and red with an epileptic gleam. I don't know where I'm going, but when I get there I'll be glad. I'm going to sit right down and write this poem called The Day My Pad Went Mad. I was ankle deep in human waste, the toilet had been clogged. Marrowbone jelly all over the place, and I don't even have a dog. The man upstairs, he gripped my arm, saying I don't know your dad. All I could hear was the fire alarm. The day my pad went mad. The kitchen had been ransacked, ski trails in the hall. A chicken has been ransacked and thrown against the wall. In walks this dumb waiter with a fountain pen and pad, saying, how do you want this alligator? The day my pad went mad. The hamster had been slaughtered, the parrot bound and gagged, the guard dog had been sorted out and absolutely shagged, the goldfish drowned, the cat was found, kicked around and stabbed, the radio did not make a sound, the day my pad went mad. The pop-up toaster refused to pop if the chandelier was smashed, the starter motor would not stop, the tyres had been slashed. There was no way out of there, I was stuck with what I had, out of the order, beyond repair, the day my pad went mad. Yesterday I had the place rewired and slung out all my junk. A tumble dryer, a 2-bar fire and a telephone now defunct. I peeped through the Venetian blinds, the rain fell down so sad. On the broken home I left behind, the day my pad went mad.
Cool.
Yes. John Cooper Clarke, legend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which book was that from, the new book, did you say?
It's from the old one.
It's from the old book.
Because there was that poem, that I kind of read all the time.
Yes. Evidently Chicken Town. Hi, Val. Nice to see you. How are you?
Cool. Oh, why did the Scarecrow win all the awards?
Ooh, I don't know. Why?
Because he was outstanding in his field.
That's a really good one. I really like that one. That's cool. I never heard that before. That's funny. Okay. Oh, losing my glasses here. All right. So I'm going to read the one that I wrote yesterday, and it's called Turbulence. And it is loosely based on my flight to Dubai a week ago. I have not flown for over kind of 10 years, and I was very, very nervous about getting on that plane. We then had some really, really bad turbulence, and the reaction was a little different to what I had anticipated. The poem, apart from that inspiration, it's not kind of exactly true at all. My flying partner was not ridiculing me or anything like that, but it kind of just gave me some inspiration to try and write a funny poem. It might be a little bit funny, I don't know, you have to let me know. Okay. We're called to head to the airport gate. You have to drag me, in fear we'll be late. I don't think I can board this plane. I cannot seem to control my brain. I'm shaking so and full of dread, in fear that we'll all end up dead. How did I let it get this far? I'd much rather travel in my car. And even though to fly is safer, I fear that we'll be in the paper in a tragic jet malfunction ending in passenger plane destruction. I can't take Valium to help me fly because it's illegal in Dubai, and if immigration decide to check, I'll be right in up to my neck, bundled into an Emirate jail, in there for years with no option of bail. Remind me again, how did this begin? We're boarding now, I make sure I'm strapped in. Panic consumes me, I can barely breathe, but you're so composed, for you it's a breeze. You can't understand why I'm feeling afraid. You say it's quite silly, the fuss that I've made. We're in our seats and I tell you I'm sad that we're not by the window, and then you get mad, you sigh. You told me you were scared to fly and you'd not like to see the world from up high. I explain that yes, this may be true, but nevertheless I'd have liked the view. Then the safety guides are given by the crew, to which I pay extra special attention to, memorising where the life jackets are stored, noting the nearest emergency door. You're shaking your head, you just don't understand how anxious I'll be until the plane lands. The flight's going well, I've managed to write. I watched a film and I'm feeling all right. Perhaps it's okay, I quite like to fly, realising it's unlikely we're going to die. Then suddenly the seatbelt lights flash. Passengers return to their seats in a dash. 38,000 feet jolting side to side, up and down we rocked, it was really quite some ride. I turned to you, my darling, and to my great surprise, your face was turning pale. In fact, it was nearly white. You grabbed onto my arm and your face was full of fear. You said you felt all queasy, but I saw you shed a tear. I looked into your worried eyes and tried to reassure. My dear, it's just a bit of turbulence. Have you not experienced it before? And that's it. So it's supposed to be ironic that this person was like really, 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 really scared about going on a plane, and the boyfriend was going, oh, you're so silly, don't be silly. And then actually it turns out that he's the one that's scared, and then the person that had anxiety isn't. So but David wasn't at all like that at all. And yes, it was true, because when the turbulence came, and it was very, very bad turbulence, that people started to get panicked. It was really bad than ever experienced. He did go, and he was feeling sick, and I was like, it's okay. I said, it's okay, it's going to be all right. So it's sort of based on true, but he wasn't at all ridiculing me, nothing like that. But I just did that for added dramatics.
I wouldn't ridicule you.
Oh, thanks.
How much time do we have left?
We only have about 5 minutes. Are you almost finished on yours, or how many do you have there?
Do you have any more left?
Oh, only a very short one.
I got one which I can read quite quickly.
Okay.
I'll be really quick. It's called John Joe Polonio by Pamez. John Joe Polonio, he loved to wear a hat. He had a balaclava. He was ever so fond of that. He had a boat made of straw for wearing on a punt, and he also had a turban with a diamond on the front. He had a hat like Turpin when he cried, "Stand and deliver." Another one like Nelson, which would make your timber shiver. A topper for a smart occasion and made him look a toff, and a bowler for the office, he could wear it on or off. He had Johnny Sage's hat for swabbing of the deck, a Foreign Legion hat to keep the sunshine off his neck, a bathing cap for when he was considering a swim, and a stovepipe hat like Lincoln, but it wasn't really him. He loved to wear a Stetson hat straight from the USA, and a battered old hillbilly hat for raking up the hay. In a leather hat and goggles, he was Biggles in his kite, while in a sheet with eye holes, he would give his mum a fright. He wore a tam o' shanter resting slightly on his scalp, a hat from Switzerland in which to yodel on an Alp, a brightly coloured jockey cap for riding home the winner, and a chest hat stiffly starched for when he had to cook the dinner. When John Joe got married, his poor bride was in despair. He could not make up his mind which hat he ought to wear. This one and that one, small one, flat one, long or short or tall. He did not know, so in the end, he just wore them all.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Very good.
Brilliant one.
Yeah.
I did
Okay.
like that one.
Do we want to wrap up then?
Oh, you do your little small one.
Okay. This is Ken Nesbitt. Again. Okay. My teacher calls me Sweetie Cakes. My classmates think it's funny to hear her call me Angel Face or Pookie Bear or Honey. She calls me Precious Baby Doll. She calls me Pumpkin Pie or Doodlebug or Honey Bunch or Darling Butterfly. My class is so embarrassing. I need to find another, just any class at all in which the teacher's not my mother.
Yeah.
It's quite good, isn't he? Yeah.
It is, yeah. I just reading, I feel my...
Oh, no, it must have been really scary. I would have been so scared if I had my kids with me, but I don't care anymore. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh. Okay, so have you got any more, or is that it?
That's it, yeah.
Cool.
That was one I didn't even think of doing.
Okay.
Thank you very much for joining. Don't forget, next week we have a discussion, Edward Thomas's The Unknown Bird. Poems available on YPV _discuss on that page. But of course, you can go on to our main YPV page, look at the prompts we've also set out, because we want to be able to feature your poetry inspired by Edward Thomas. I know he's not a big name, but he was friends with Robert Frost and also possibly the grandfather of British poetry, like especially new ones because he influenced Ted Hughes and Andrew Motion.
Very interesting. Yes, if you haven't already looked, the prompts are la la la, bird, song, search, unknown, and years. And you don't have to include those words, but you just need to be inspired by those words. And if you have a little Google on Edward Thomas, write anything inspired by this person. We'll post it on YPV Live and we might read it out if it's one of our favourites on the show on YPV Discuss. But yeah, that's it from us.
Thank you very much for joining. I hope you had fun. I hope you had a good.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.